Hello YouTube! We're on the real programming channel about HTML and CSS for beginners, for you. And my name is Andrei and I am its host. I greet you, welcome on my channel. This is our 95th lesson about back to getting those input elements into your HTML. Let's go start. Now we've got to get those input elements inside the form and check out the additions below and make the changes in your HTML form. We are going to start by putting everything inside the P element. Nest elements directly inside the form. Here is just the form and the form snipped from form.html. Hey, we've got to save a few trees here. Here are all the input elements, one for each input in the snip2 section of the form. We've added a label for each input to the user knows what goes in the text input. And you should also know that input is an inline element, so if you want some line breaks between the input elements, you have to add BRS. That's also why you need to nest them all inside the paragraph. Finally, don't forget that users need to submit button to submit the form. So add the submit button by inserting an input at the bottom with a type of submit. Also add a value of order now, which will change the text of the button from submit to order now. After you'll made all these changes, save your form.html file and let's give this a whirl. Don't forget to validate your HTML. Link will be on up for this video, down for this video, area text. Form elements need validation too. A form all test drive. Reload the page, fill in the text inputs and submit the form. You don't think we would give you a toy example? That doesn't really work, do you? Seriously, StarbucksCoffee.com is all ready to take your form submission. Go for it. When you do that, the browser will package up the data and send it to the URL in the action attribute, which is at StarbucksCoffee.com. Here is the form. Notice the changes. In the URL of your addresses bar after you submit the form, you'll see the URL in the form's action attribute in the address bar. And here is the response after submitting the form. Here is the server script's response. It looks like the script got what we submitted, but we haven't given it everything it needs. Adding some more input elements to your form, it looks like the server script isn't going to let us get very far without telling it the beans we want, as well as the bean type, ground or whole. Let's add the bean selection first by adding a select element to the form. Remember that the select element contains a list of options, each of which becomes a choice in drop-down menu, also associated with each choice is value. When the form is submitted, the value of the choice and menu option is sent to server. Turn the page and let's add the select element. Adding the select element. Okay, this is our code. All this. Here is our brand new select element. It's a get a unique name too. Be choice your beans. Inside we put each option element or one per choice of coffee. HTML up close exercise. Let's take a closer look to add the option element. Each option has a value. When the browser packages up the names and values of the form elements, it uses the name of the select element along with the value of the chosen option. In this case, the browser would send the server beans is equal Guatemala. The content of the element is used as a label in the drop-down menu. Test driving the select element. Let's give the select element a spin row. Now reload your page and you should have a nice menu new waiting for you. Choose your favorite coffee and fill in the rest of the form and submit your order. Here is the form. Completely with the select element. Notice all the options are there. We still haven't given the server script everything it needs, but the script is getting everything in the form of so far. Here is the result of the select choice. Here are all the text inputs and the tell input. Look like Starbucks assumes we want a bag of coffee if we don't specify. So, next, brain power. Change the select element name attribute to dim beans. Reload the form and resubmit your order. Now, does this affect the results you get back from the server script? Make sure you change the name back to beans when you're done with this exercise. Give the customer a choice of whole or ground beans. The customer needs to be able to choose whole or ground beans for your order. For those, we are going to use radio buttons. Radio buttons are like the buttons. On old car radios, you can push only one in a time. The way they work in HTML is that you create one input of type radio for each button. So in this case, you need two buttons, one for whole beans and one for ground. And here is what that looks like. There are two radio buttons here, one for whole beans and one for ground. We're using the input element for this, which with its type set to radio. Here is the unique name. All radio buttons in the same group share the same name. And here is the value that will be sent to the server script. Only one of these will be sent, the one that is selected when the form is submitted. Notice that we often label radio buttons on the right hand side of the elements. Punching the radio buttons. Take the radio button HTML on the previous page and insert into your HTML just below the paragraph containing the select element. Make sure you reload the page and then submit it again. Depending on your browser, you may have noticed that on radio button was pressed when you reloaded the page. Whoa, Starbucks, look our order and we're not even done with it yet. We've still got to add the number of bags. They ship by that, the gift options and an area for customers' comments. Now, could the order work without all the elements being in the form? Well, it all depends on how the server script is programmed. In this case, it is programmed to process the order even if the gift wrap, catalog options and the customer comments are not submitted with the rest of the form data. The only way you can know if a server script requires certain form elements is to talk to the person who developed it or to read the documentation. Okay. Hey, 80% of your customers order ground beans. Can you make it so the ground bean type is already selected when the user loads the page? Exercise. If you add a boolean attribute name checked into your radio input element, then that element will be selected by default when the form is displayed by the browser. Add the checked attribute to the ground radio input element and give the page a test. You'll find the solution in the back of this chapter. Remember that boolean attributes don't need a value. If the attribute checked is present, then the input control is checked. Okay, using more input types, and we will talk about this in the next lesson, and this is our 95 lesson over. Remember, please, thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, please Put likes, share with friends and the comments. Eat bananas, eat fruit, drink more water. Remember again, only do exercise in the evening. Preferably after you have done all the work. Okay. Thank you. I like you. That's all. Bye.